Welcome to online discussion on Indian Evidence Act. In this session, we will discuss the provisions regarding witnesses in Chapter 9 of the Evidence Act. You know, while the court hears a civil case or tries a criminal case, witnesses are examined by the parties. Why witnesses are examined? Because the court has no personal knowledge about the incident, about the occurrence in criminal case. Similarly, the court has also doesn't go personally to the place and examine witness there. So the party who alleges that the court, previously we have discussed that the burden of proof, that the party who requests the court or prays the court to give a judgment in his favor, the onus is on him to prove. So facts are proved by evidence, either oral evidence or documented evidence. Oral evidence has been defined. All statements of the permits or meets are required to be made before it for oral evidence. Witnesses are the eyes and ears of the judge. Witnesses are the eyes and the ears of the judge. Through witnesses, the judge sees the incident. Judge considers the incident, observes the incident through witnesses. So, the witnesses are the ears and the eyes of the judge. Then who is competent to give evidence as a witness? That is provided in section 118 of the Evidence Act. What it provides? Who may testify? Who may testify? Who will give evidence before the court? Who is competent to give evidence before the court? Always all testification of a witness is made by oath. Then there is a provision, Indian Oath Act. Oath Act is there, which governs how oath is to be administered. In every case, court takes the evidence of a witness on oath. So who may testify? What it provides? All persons, here persons, irrespective of the age, the sex, all persons, it has been mentioned, all persons shall be competent to testify. All persons shall be competent to testify unless the court considers, you should remember, the court considers, if the party says that is not, the court considers, what? That they are prevented from understanding the question put to them. They are prevented. The words are not, they are unable. Unable words are not there. They are prevented. They are prevented to understand the question put to them or to give rational answer. Rational answer to what? To those questions. Whatever questions are put to them, they are prevented to understand the questions put to them or to give rational answer to those questions because of by tender years. Tender years. Tender means very child. As a child. Tender years. Extreme old age. Extreme old age. Disease. Whether of body or mind. Or any other cause of the same kind. You should understand. What? All persons are competent to testify unless the court considers. If the court considers that such person is prevented, such person is prevented. What? From understanding the question put to him or to give rational answer due to tender years, due to tender years, extreme old age, disease of body or mind, or of the other causes of the same kind. Other causes of the same kind means all these bodies, mind, etc. So, if suppose for an example a witness is unable to understand the question, then he is not a competent witness. Even a witness is understand the question, but is unable to give this rational answer because of extreme age, because of disease, then also he will not be a competent witness. The two are, or is there, not and. All persons are competent to testify unless the court considers. What the court considers? That person is prevented, he is not in a position. Is not in a position. Is unable to understand the question put to him because of his old age, because of tender years, because of disease, either a body disease or disease of mind or of any other cause of the same kind. Suppose a person is able to understand the question, but he is not is a position, he is unable to give rational answer because of all these conditions. The tender years, extreme old age, disease of body or mind, or any other cause of same kind. The explanation added to this section provides a lunatic is a competent witness. A lunatic what it provides, a lunatic is not incompetent to testify. That means a lunatic is competent to testify unless he is prevented by his lunacy from understanding the question put to him and giving a rational answer to them. Here and is used. Unless he is in a position to understand the question put to him and to give rational answer. But in the previous paragraph, and is not there, unable to understand the question put to him or to give an answer. Any either or. But here, both unable to understand the question put to him and to give a rational answer. So here, who is a competent witness? So if a question comes, all persons are competent witness. All persons are competent witness unless the court considers that they are prevented from understanding the question put to them or to give rational answer because of tender years, extreme old age, sickness of body or mind, or any other cause of same kind. So most of the time, in this case, child witness, old man, lunatic, when they are produced as witnesses. When a child is produced as a witness, the court has a duty to put some question to him before examining that child. But to testify his intelligence. What testification? How far that child is able to understand the question put to him or to give rational answer. Because the intelligence of a child at a particular age is not the same intelligence of all the time. In this, nowadays, the child are even more intelligent than the adult. They are very intelligent. Children are now, in this generation, we find very intelligent children. The intelligence of a child depends upon the environment in which it was brought up. Suppose a tribal child. There may be a poor intelligence of that child because she is not exposed to other society. But if a child brought up in an urban environment with all facilities, computer facilities, mobile phone, That is, that child must have developed is more intelligent than a rural child, a child who is brought up in a rural area. So, the court has a duty to put some question to that child and to come to a conclusion or come to which must be satisfied whether that child is able to understand the question put to him or to give a response. Whether oath is to be administered to a child or not, that is the question. A child, many child, many child, they do not know what is oath, what is the implication of oath. They do not know what is God. But some children, they are God-fearing. From the childhood, it is taught that there is God, etc. They fear God, they do not tell lie. So, implication of oath, how far that child has understood, whether he knows the court or not. So, those facts are also to be taken into consideration. In one case, that the testimony of whether can be legally received except on oath is as though under the age of 7 years. So whether oath will be administered that child. So in such case, sufficient knowledge and nature of consequence of what this child knows, that oath is to be administered. There is no precise or fixed rule as to the time within which infants are excluded from giving evidence. There is no fixed rule at which age a child is to be excluded from evidence. So here, but their admissibility depends upon the sense, and is in that they entertain of the danger, and they do not know what is God, etc. But the rule is that there should not be a conviction basing on the solitary testimony of a childhood. Some amount of corroboration is required as a matter of prudence. This is child. So, this you should know, a child, extreme old age, there are many persons, they lose their memory, they are unable to understand the question put to them because of extreme old age. When a man becomes extreme old, sometimes he loses his memory. He loses his intelligence to understand the question put to him. So in such case, he will not be a competent witness. Similarly, disease, either mental disease may not be lunatic, some disease is there, Alzheimer's disease, that or the other disease, or body or mind, suppose paralytic, suffering person, paralysis, unable to understand the question. Or similar or any other cause of the same kind. Suppose there is an injury, so somebody, head injury, etc., unable to understand the question. Or to give it. Now, lunatic is concerned. Lunacy is many persons we do not have proper knowledge on lunacy. There are many persons, we think a person is lunatic if he is violent in his nature. But we do not accept a person as lunacy if he is following his ordinary day-to-day life, but his lunatic is insane for a particular cause. That is lunacy. Lunatic, a person may be lunatic for a long while. Most of the time he may be under insanity, but for a short interval he may be sanity. If a person may be sane for a long time, but for a particular period he may be insane. So insanity, many persons, those suffering from insanity, they know the consequence of the incident. They are God-fearing. They observe many things. Some of them are very intelligent. So if a lunatic also is a competent witness. But if the court considers, if a lunatic is incompetent, unless he is prevented because of his lunacy, he is unable to understand the question put to him and to give a rational answer, then only he will not be a competent person. Now, whether a dog is a competent witness. In section 119, we find a dog is a competent witness. What? What is dog? What it says dog means? Who is unable to speak, who is not in a position to speak. We say he is a dog. A witness who is unable to speak may give evidence in any other manner in which he can make it intelligible. A witness who is dumb, who is unable to speak, may give his evidence in any other manner, either by sign or in writing, in any other manner in which that is intelligible. But such writing, if he gives evidence in writing, then such writing must be written and signed made in open court. So when a witness, a dumb witness is examined in court, suppose that he is a competent witness, but who will give evidence in the manner in which it is intelligible, either in writing or in sign. So such writing, when he gives evidence in writing, that writing must be in open court. That sign regarding the incident through which with those signs he communicates the court regarding the incident, those signs must be in open court. So evidence so given shall be deemed to be oral evidence. You should understand. When it is given in writing, a dumb person gives evidence in writing in open court or gives evidence by sign in open court, that evidence will be treated as oral evidence. So this is what. Now, section 120, parties to civil suit and their wives or husbands. Again, husband or wife of person under criminal trial. In civil suit, there is no restriction. Parties, what it says? In all civil proceeding, whatever be the civil proceeding, the parties to the suit and the husband or wife of any party to the suit shall be competent witness. So, in all civil suits, the parties respective husband, wife, or respective shall be competent. In criminal proceeding against any person, the husband or wife of such person, respectively, shall be competent witness. When only in a criminal case, when that is against any person. In such case, the husband or wife of such person, that means against whom is accused, respectively shall be competent. Now, section 121, judges and magistrates. This section 121 is also, that is in the case of competency of a witness. Judge or a magistrate cannot give evidence about the proceeding, about anything observed by him in a proceeding, either in a civil proceeding or a criminal proceeding, unless there is order from his superior court. But if anything has come to his personal knowledge other than the case matters, then he may be examined as a witness. This section 121 says, no judge or magistrate shall, except upon the special order of some court to which he is subordinate. When there is a special order of the superior court, no judge or magistrate except or without the order of the superior court or without order of the court to which this judge or magistrate is subordinate, except such order, be compelled to answer any question as to his own conduct in court as such judge or magistrate. So, as to his own conduct, whatever deed while deciding a criminal case, a magistrate or a judge while deciding a civil case, he cannot be compelled to answer regarding his own conduct. Conduct means what? As to his own conduct in court as such or magistrate. As such or magistrate, his conduct is always in respect of deciding a case. So no judge or magistrate shall be, without order of the superior court, can be compelled to answer. About what? About his own conduct. About his own conduct in court as such judge or magistrate. Or as to anything which came to his knowledge in court as such a judge or magistrate. That is, regarding that proceeding, while deciding a proceeding, while hearing a criminal case, or hearing a civil dispute, or anything which came to his knowledge as such judge or magistrate. But he may be examined as to other matters which occurred in his presence, which he was so acting, whilst he was so acting. Suppose a judge is hearing a criminal trial. The accused is present there. Other many persons are present in the open court. There the judge found, in the presence of a judge, one of the witnesses attempted to cause murder of another witness who was present. So for that, he may be compelled to answer. Because that he observed not in the course of the judicial, as judge or magistrate while deciding what the case, while hearing the case. But he may be examined as to other matters. That is, other matters. Other than the judicial matter what he is hearing, or other than the criminal case which he is hearing, during what came to his knowledge during such hearing, or what he did during such hearing, for that he will not be compelled to answer. But if any other matter has come to his knowledge, while acting as a judge, while acting as a magistrate, he may be compelled to answer. The illustration will make you clear. What it says? A, on his trial before the Court of Sessions, says that a deposition was improperly taken by B, the magistrate. Prior to that, suppose A was facing trial for committing murder. Prior to old criminal procedure code, when the old criminal procedure code was there was a commitment proceeding. Suppose evidence was taken by the magistrate before commitment. Now A, during his trial before the Court of Sessions, wanted to examine the B, the magistrate, to prove that, to put some question to him that the evidence was not properly taken by him. So B cannot be compelled to answer question as to this, except upon the special order of a superior court. So B, the magistrate, cannot be compelled to answer this question unless there is an order of the superior court. Similarly, A is accused before the Court of Sessions of having given false evidence before B, a magistrate. A is accused, is facing trial before the Court of Sessions. Why? Because they have given false evidence in a Sessions case. So in such case, this A wanted to examine B. So B cannot be asked what is A said, except upon the special order of the superior court. That is, Section 121 says, no judge or magistrate shall be compelled to answer anything regarding his conduct as a judge or magistrate while deciding a case, or anything which came to his knowledge while acting as a judge or magistrate in that. But if any other matter he had observed which is not connected to him as a judge, personal capacity, when he found judge sits on the dais, he found that in his presence one witness is attempting to cause or stabbed another witness. So that observation, that incident came to his knowledge in his personal capacity, not as a judge. So in such case he can be compelled. So illustration C will make you clear. A is accused before the Court of Sessions of attempting to murder a police officer whilst on the trial before B, the session judge. B may be examined as to what occurred, because that is personal capacity. So this is called, the privilege admits of the following exceptions, that is judicial privilege. This privilege is called judicial privilege. Because when a judge or magistrate has been given immense independence, immense independency to try, to decide a case, to record evidence. So what he says, this is called judicial privilege. It cannot be compelled. What he did while deciding a case, or what came to knowledge while deciding a case in that particular case. But if any other matter which occurred in his presence and that came to his knowledge in personal capacity, he may be compelled to answer. Now let us discuss privileged communication. This is privilege. These are the competent witnesses. What is privileged communication? There are certain matters which a witness cannot either be compelled to disclose, or even if the witness is willing to disclose, he will not be permitted to do so. This is privileged communication. Cannot be compelled to disclose certain matters, or if he is willing to do so, the court will not permit him to disclose such matters. These are privileged communications. Why privileged communication? Such matters are known as privileged communication. That is, husband-wife's relationship, if the communication has come. Let clients, this advocate relationship. These are the privileged communication. Some communication which has been made by one party to the other because of some confidence, because of some relationship. Those communications should not be disclosed to the court. These are called privileged communication. Privileged communication, certain communications which a person cannot be compelled to answer, compelled to disclose, or if he is willing to disclose, he will not be permitted to disclose. Then those communications will be treated as privileged communication. Privileged communication are of two kinds. What is? Those which are privileged from disclosure and those which are prohibited from being disclosed. That is, cannot be compelled to disclose, prohibited from disclosure, or which are prohibited from being disclosed. That will not be permitted to disclose. These are the privileged communication. The first privileged communication in this category is the communication by husband to the wife or wife to the husband during marriage. What he says? Communication during marriage. Suppose the husband commits murder and he came to the house and disclosed to the wife that, or confessed before he made a statement, gave a statement to his wife that he committed murder of Mr. X. So this communication cannot be permitted, cannot be said, the wife cannot be compelled to disclose, or will not be permitted to disclose. Why such things? Communication during marriage. Because of such confidence, the husband and wife are treated previously as same in the eye of law. One in the eye of law. You know, the husband and wife, after marriage, they are united, they have much confidence. Then in such case, their marriage, it will hamper their marriage. If such permission, such communications are disclosed, definitely the marriage will be what? Dissolved. The marriage will no longer remain peaceful in future. So keeping this thing in mind, that the marriage life of the parties should not be disturbed, certain communications are not permitted to be disclosed by the court. If such communications are made either by husband to the wife or wife to the husband during marriage. What he says? No person who is or has been married, husband, wife, it is not. No person who is or has been married means previously, even after divorce. Has been. So no person who is or has been married shall be compelled to disclose any communication made to him during marriage to any person to whom he is or has been married. So no person who is married or previously has been married shall be compelled to disclose any communication made to him during marriage. That communication must be during subsistence of the marriage, either by the husband or by the wife. Husband, either no person who is or has been married shall be compelled to disclose any communication made to him during marriage to any person to whom he is or has been married, nor shall be permitted, even that person is voluntarily saying, will not be permitted, nor shall be permitted to disclose any such communication, nor shall be permitted to disclose any such communication, unless the person who made it or is representative in interest consents. So, what is it? If that person is consenting, okay. No person who is or has been married shall be compelled to disclose any communication made to him during marriage to any person to whom he is or has been married, nor shall he be permitted to disclose any such communication unless the person who made it or is in interest consents. Except in suits between married persons, except if that is a suit is there between those two married persons. In such case, such a privileged communication is not available against each other. Persons or proceeding in which one married person is prosecuted for any crime committed against the other, unless in a civil suit, except in a suit between two married persons, it may be permitted, or proceeding in which one married person is prosecuted for any crime committed against the other. This is called privileged communication during. Section 120 prevents communication between a man and his wife from being disclosed. While marriage inspires confidence, when there is a marriage, there is confidence between the husband and wife. There is no matter which cannot be shared with the wife or by the wife between the husband and wife. Marriage inspires and confidence inspires openness of heart and feeling. Marriage inspires confidence when there is a confidence of a certain person. The person, in that inspires that person openness of heart and feeling. This enables a married person to make clean breast of everything to his or her spouse. Once there is a marriage, both the spouse have a confidence on each other. They make a clean breast of him. Nothing can be kept secret by the husband from the wife or the wife by the husband, unless there is intention. The policy of protection is thus stated by What is that? All kinds of communication. This ban is available to all kinds of communication that may take place between a man and his wife, even in criminal matters, everything. So conversation from being disclosed. It must remain stamped with the seal of confidence because of confidential communication. So here, you should know, letters and written communication, even in letter has been said, that is also a communication. That will not be disclosed. Not only oral communication, even written communication. Even during this modern technology, if something has been sent through email, etc., WhatsApp communication, all such communication will have to be treated as privileged communication. So here, you are aware, this is called privileged communication. Only exception is there. Wife can testify as to what her husband did on a certain occasion, though not as what he said to her. So that is only when there is a criminal case against the husband for causing any hurt or causing any offense against the wife. In such case, this will not be applicable. When there is a civil proceeding between the husband and wife, this is not applicable. So this is communication. That is, this waiver of privileged communication will be made if the other party consents. Evidence of a privilegiation can be given by a spouse with the consent of the party who made the communication. This privileged communication can be waived. If the person who had communicated, he waives. This is known as waiver of the privilege. Waiver may take place by reason of advance consent to the disclosure or by the fact that the husband or the wife has gone to the witness to testify and the other spouse has not in good time objected to the disclosure. So this is section 120. Now section 120 they say, evidence as to affairs of state. No one shall be permitted to give any evidence. No one shall be permitted to give any evidence derived from unpublished official records. Unpublished official record. Some persons, some public servants, they discharge their duties as public servants in government offices. If a particular unpublished, suppose a published record is there, unpublished official records relating to any affairs of state, only in affairs of states, no one shall be permitted to give evidence. What? Derived from the evidence of fact which is derived from any unpublished official records regarding the affairs of the state, except with the permission of the officer at the head of the department concerned. If the officer, if the head of the office, head of the department consents, he can give. So no one shall be permitted to give any evidence. If he voluntarily comes and he gives, no, he will not be permitted. No one shall be permitted to give any evidence what is derived from any unpublished official records. Regarding what? Regarding affairs of the state. What is affairs of the state? That has not been defined. Any affairs, confidential, which will affect the sovereignty of the state. Affairs of the state, except with the permission of the head of the department concerned, who shall give or withhold such permission as he thinks fit. So unpublished state records are not permitted to be disclosed. So this section 123 prohibits disclosure of unpublished official records. You will give evidence. Obviously that will be publication of the official records regarding affairs of the state. The only exception that they may be disclosed with the permission of the head of the department concerned. If the head of the department concerned permits, then only such unpublished official records regarding if that a person has derived any knowledge regarding that unpublished any matter, any fact from the unpublished official records, then he may be permitted to disclose such things. So this is unpublished. Suppose cabinet decision is there. Suppose something is cabinet decision, but it has not been published. If a person who is dealing that file, he has some knowledge about regarding some appointment of some person, regarding some policy of the government, affairs of the state, then he will not be permitted to disclose things. Disclose any fact which he derived or which he came to his knowledge from the unpublished official records. But if the head of the department considers it and gives permission, then he can. This is section 123. Now, in our next class, we will discuss the other, that is official communication.